In the summer of 1944, something extraordinary was unfolding in Europe, something so fast and so decisive that even America's own allies struggled to fully grasp it. While the war still dragged on across ruined cities and shattered countryside, one army was moving with a speed that seemed almost unreal. American columns pushed forward day after day, breaking through enemy lines, capturing cities in rapid succession, and refusing to give the German army time to breathe. To many watching from afar, this did not look like a normal military advance. It looked like the arrival of a new kind of warfare, aggressive, relentless, and unmistakably American. That momentum had a name, and for the men who followed him it represented more than just a commander, General George S. Patton believed that wars were not won by waiting, but by moving faster than the enemy could think. To him, hesitation was deadly. Every hour spent pausing meant more lives lost later. And as his forces surged across France, reports began to reveal something remarkable. Vast stretches of territory taken in a matter of weeks, city after city secured, with casualties far lower than anyone had expected for an advance of that scale. It was the kind of result that forced even skeptical officers to take notice. At the same time, on another sector of the very same front, the war moved at a completely different pace. Under Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery, British forces advanced with extreme caution. Every position was carefully prepared, every assault deliberate, every village taken at a heavy cost. Montgomery believed that patience prevented catastrophe. In his view, speed invited disaster, and only careful planning could avoid collapse. But that philosophy came with a price, and that price was written in blood. As the days passed, casualty lists grew longer. Thousands of British and Commonwealth soldiers were killed or wounded in battles that seemed to consume men without delivering decisive breakthroughs. Fighting around places like Caen became grinding, brutal, and slow. Entire units were worn down for gains measured in yards. And all the while, American forces continued their rapid advance elsewhere, seizing towns before German defenses could solidify, keeping the enemy off balance and constantly retreating. The contrast between the two approaches became impossible to ignore. In London, Prime Minister Winston Churchill studied the reports with intense focus. He was no stranger to sacrifice. He understood that war demanded blood. But what troubled him was not the existence of casualties, it was the imbalance between cost and result. As he compared British losses with American progress, Churchill began to see more than two military campaigns. He saw two fundamentally different philosophies of command, and two very different interpretations of what leadership in war truly meant. Those close to Churchill later described him as deeply unsettled by what he read. This was not a public performance or a dramatic speech moment. It was genuine anger. Not because Montgomery was failing, but because the losses appeared excessive when measured against the ground gained. Churchill believed that command carried moral responsibility. Victory mattered, but so did how it was achieved. And as the contrast sharpened, his patience wore thin. From Patton's perspective, the situation was simple. Speed saved lives in the long run. A retreating enemy had less time to regroup, less opportunity to resist, and fewer chances to inflict damage. His methods were risky, and he knew it. But he believed that bold action, shortened wars, and shorter wars meant fewer graves. Critics questioned his recklessness, but the numbers on the page told a powerful story, one that now circulated through the highest levels of Allied leadership. In the years that followed, historians would argue endlessly over which general was right. Montgomery would defend caution as the shield against disaster. Patton would insist that delay only prolonged suffering. The truth, as with most wars, lies somewhere between those views. But in that moment, for Churchill, the debate was not theoretical, it was human. As he compared those reports, the maps, the casualty figures, the captured cities, Churchill was not choosing between two generals. He was confronting the harshest reality of command. Every decision costs lives. And sometimes the difference between bold movement and careful hesitation can mean thousands of men who never make it home. The war would be won, Europe would be liberated. But in that moment, Winston Churchill understood something few civilians ever truly grasp. Victory alone is never the full measure of leadership. What defines a commander is the price he is willing to pay to achieve it.